And action. Half a day. This is a KEI truck. It's a mini class of vehicles that come from Japan. And I'm here at FOKAI Brands International's headquarters over there in Humatak, Guam, to pick up the man behind the brand, Mr. Roman Delacruz. And then he is going to take me on a ride in this KEI truck to find out the story behind FOKAI and answer 10 crucial questions. So let's go.
Half a day.
And we're in a KEI truck.
Wow, this is cool.
Is this your first time driving one of these things?
Yes, it is.
He's the guy who started, right? FOKAI Brands.
I was one of the people.
Before we get into that, I have these 10 questions. They're crucial questions that were scientifically designed to get into your psyche.
Wow, really?
Yes, and understand you.
Who's a scientist?
My writing team. First question. You ready?
Sure.
Chicks.
Awesome.
Love him or leave him?
Love them.
Number 2.
2, yes.
Favorite fruit, and don't say salad.
Ooh. Coconut.
Number 3.
I don't think it's a fruit though. It's a nut. But
Well-
does it still count?
It still counts.
All right.
It still counts on my book. All
Okay,
right.
great. All right.
Number 3. Your favorite position. Sleeping.
Apologies.
Sleeping position.
Sleeping position. I would say fetus.
On your side. Okay. It's 3 ways to die. These are the 3 ways. Which would it be? Number 1, by choking to death, by poison, or by a bullet.
By a bullet.
What song do you get hyped up for?
Currently, Spirit Bird by Xavier Rudd.
Number 7, do you believe in aliens?
Absolutely, because the universe is big and possibilities are endless, including the possibility of there not being any aliens, but the possibilities are endless.
Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris?
Bruce Lee.
Of course. Soap or body wash?
So
Okay. The final question, your Karampika, with or without coconut milk?
with.
All right. Now that we got that stuff out of the way, those are the 10 crucial questions.
Wow,
We'll
yes.
analyze that information later on. I'll give you some information about yourself.
Wow.
How did FOKAI start?
FOKAI started as an ambition to give Guam a large and honorable name in the world of action sports. The year that we first came out with our actual product would be in 1998, was the first actual sellable merchandise was released.
I remember back then, right, they had Incident Inoue, MMA
Yes.
fighter. And I
Yes.
remember that when he fought in Pride, I don't know if it was the first time, on his gi, he had the FOKAI logo on his gi. And I was like freaking out because, that's your company, or basically the reason why I said R is because I'm thinking that's Guam,
Yeah,
and we were
exactly.
out there.
And I think you're saying it right, because that's something that's a feeling that we still want the people to feel, like whether in whatever level you might support or understand the company, is that to understand that even though that we have a global aspiration, is that the people of Guam can really embrace FOKAI as being ours, because it really is,
When did you realize that you guys got something? This is something where everybody was relating to.
I think we understood it from the beginning, but I don't know if we really understood what the environment of things would be if we were really going to dedicate ourselves to it being full time. Everybody, like everybody else, you have your goals and it's possible, but in between the lines, you stay focused on the positive. You listen to all this positive speaking stuff. You read positive books, mental books, but in the end, really, you have to really activate all of that with your hands to make it through, because all that positive talk is great and you do have your highlight moments, but it takes a lot of work to get there.
But it seems now that you guys are part of Guam, the Guam story now. You're one of the few brands that actually, or few companies that you've been around over 20 years already, and you've grown. I know you have 2 locations, and you have actually other areas where you can buy the Fuccai brand online, but also in other countries. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So where are you guys at?
We have lost power on the ride.
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this is a crazy.
So what we are gonna do?
Oh shoot!
Is we are gonna take
This
a
is
ride.
crazy, man. I can't believe
But
this.
I'm gonna put us to a place with a view.
Okay.
It takes practice and it takes science. A lot of people think that the faster you go, you know, the further it goes. So a lot of people, when they're learning how to sling, the first error that they make is they go too fast, and then it makes things kind of crazy, and then it turns them off. They don't believe that they can do it from the get-go. So it's controlling a lot of it. It's controlling that spin earlier on in the learning that you really understand where. When you start to understand what's happening scientifically, then it makes it a little bit easier.
I was asking Roman when he was when they were starting with Fuccai. I'm pretty sure he had like a full-time job. Like, what were you doing prior to taking off the brand?
I was working on I was a deckhand on a fishing charter boat.
Wow.
And, yep, that's what I was doing. So I would, in between charters, my partner at the time was selling T-shirts out of his backpack and out of his apartment, and I would walk around the streets of Agana, sell shirts to friends that worked on the other boats during my lunch break, and it grew from there.
The way I see like MMA or martial arts or any kind of competition, you're always rooting for your team or your guy to win or your gal to win, right?
Yes.
So how did Fuccai go? I mean, how did you really establish Fuccai? And then I always thought it was attached to like martial arts.
Yeah, everybody thought that it was a fight team. It was Team Fuccai, the fight team. No, it was. At first, if anything, if it started out as any type of single label, it started out as a surfing label. And back in those days, action sports was great, and surfing on Guam, you deal with there's a lot of times when there's no waves, and when there's no waves, you can't surf. So for us for the surfing sides that were within the Fuccai company, our way to deal with the stress of having no surf was to do martial arts. And back in those days, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was so exotic, it had the vibe that was a little bit more consistent with our vibe of surfing at the time. 18 years old, 23-year-olds, I was a young, radical, freaking surf kid that just wanted to party and wanted to represent, you know what I mean, go hard. But then, so we come across these things, there's no surf, what are you going to do? You're going to train, you're going to do jiu-jitsu, but training jiu-jitsu was a lot different than other martial arts. Training other martial arts back in the day, there was a lot of this sense of, there was a lot of culture attached to that. And when jiu-jitsu first came around, it was minus all the bowing and all those formalities.
Man, remember the excitement when they first had MMA and everything was brought to Guam? Remember all that craziness?
Do you remember when the excitement when it was art versus art? And that question was which would win?
Yes, which will win, the first UFCs. Remember that, man? That was nuts,
That was nuts because that question lingered in everybody's head for such a long time. And now you had guys that wanted to prove it.
And now I think the reason why it was important to bring all of that to the forefront, because now MMA has metamorphosized and it's a hybridized sport where everything is involved now. You got to know everything.
Yeah, and it shows the advantages and the good points of every single art out there.
Yes.
What school did you wrestle for?
GCC.
Okay. Who was your coach? Was that Ted Sanchez? No.
Ted is my cousin, and my other cousin was the other coach, Pat.
Oh wow, I remember those names.
Yes.
Weird because no matter how combative and effective wrestling was, it never got that respect of being a martial art. And even though you knew somebody was a gnarly wrestler, when you're thinking street fight, it wasn't something that a non-wrestler would really consider, like, oh, that guy wrestles, because you didn't think that wrestling was such a big part of a fight, because you thought that punching was only like put up your dukes, right?
Yeah, that's so true, actually.
But really, when you think about it now, said, man, all of these, there was this one stateside guy from Ohio who came over, and he was a real eyeglasses, real articulate, nerdy guy, and he came around, and all the guys were picking on him. They didn't care if he was bigger.
Yes.
They thought that he was weaker just because he wore eyeglasses and because he was smart.
Yes.
And then, boy, when it came down to wrestling practice, this guy was manhandling.
Dude, let me tell you something. When I first
Do you
got in,
remember his name?
Yes, his name was Aaron Allen.
Oh.
Fulcrum.
that's all it is. It's all about the lever. Where is your advantage,
And
right?
then don't forget, there's also that ridiculous mentality of grind.
Oh, the grind. Yeah.
And then that element of CrossFit, of super fitness.
Yeah,
came around.
Oh man, these
Like
CrossFit.
now the fast guys were the strong guys too. Right?
Yes.
The strong guys were the explosive guys.
Yeah.
And then these guys, not only were they strong and explosive, but they could go long.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then now, even with that alone, they were already like miniature, like they were like already like super soldiers. But then now they're technical. Boy,
Oh,
do you still watch the UFCs?
Yes, I do.
Do you see? You know, everybody's so impressed with like the offensive side of mixed martial arts.
Right.
But you know what's really impressive is a defensive side.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
and people used to criticize. Like, they criticize George St. Pierre for not.
Yeah,
being
George.
able to
Yeah,
finish.
yeah.
Like, dude, his opponents are killing everybody
Yeah.
else, and he's beating them.
He's beating
So
them.
okay, maybe he's not finishing them, but they ain't finishing him.
Right.
So I know you met a lot of fighters, MMA fighters. Who really stuck out?
I'd say the person who I would say who had the single mixed martial arts artist who had the most effect in my mind would be probably Ensign Inoue, because I've spent
Oh,
the
yeah.
most time with him. He's athletic, and I'll tell you,
Yeah.
all of this, and what people don't really understand is that he also has this very technical side of him too.
Right.
But the way he fights and the way he competes is so fierce. A long time ago, Ensign did this long walk across Japan, and I joined him.
Okay.
And Mike Fowler came in there. I don't know if you remember who Mike Fowler is.
Yes, I know who Mike Fowler,
Mike's a
yeah.
very modern and very good jiu-jitsu. He has like a lot of modern day jiu-jitsu.
And he
He's really
trains.
good
He
at it.
trains a lot.
And he trains, and then so when we would walk, a lot of times during the walk, we were passing by these different jiu-jitsu dojos, academies, and when we would do this, people would understand that we were coming through, and then they would arrange where Ensign and Mike would have these seminars.
Wow.
And then with the seminars, the money that was going to the seminars would be donated to moving us forward in the walk and to Ensign's cause, which was to serve the tsunami victims in Japan, you know, and bring awareness to their current situation at the time. The original definition for Fuccai kind of meant to share.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and to
That's
distribute.
So unusual. How can one generation change that?
Well, and you know, here's
Beautiful.
here's another great one that was broken down to me very articulately from a guy named Ben Diaz, Uncle Binky, and he told me that he saw this definition change. It's because when you would Fuccai people, you would give them their share. So it's like when that
like
slinger
putty.
give that guy his share, when he would act out, give him his share, go Fuccai.
Yes.
So then that's how the name.
Yeah.
And you want to know one? I'll tell you a really cool story.
Yeah.
We were asking for a really
Yes,
cool story
yes.
before. I went to my godson's. He was going to Sisters of Mercy.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But I went there to a Halloween party, which also happened to be on its birthday, the day
Okay.
before Halloween. And there was a nun there who was wearing a Fuccai shirt, and this nun came. She's
Oh, wow,
about
that's
60 years old, right? She came, and then she pinched me on the chest,
Yeah.
and she said, "Lanya, boy, don't you know what that means?" And then what was funny
Yeah.
is that like a 80-plus-year-old, old nun came,
Yeah.
and then pinched her and said, "It's something deeper in Chamorro, but I got to the point. Do you know what that means?"
So it's
And then she went there, and then she was dropping this knowledge on that lady,
Wow.
talking about the same thing about it being in like the
And
Novena.
by that time, you already knew that there was
By
a
that
deeper
time,
meaning.
the first story that we had heard of the deeper meaning was, first it had been through. I had a buddy, Tony Saswiko, who lived in Agate, who, when we were first selling out of t-shirts out of the bag, he was a big supporter. He was wearing it by his grandmother, and his grandmother told him, said, "Boy, who blessed you?" And then she said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Who blessed you?" And she said, and he goes, "Grandmother, Nana, what do you mean?" She said, "You're wearing that shirt and you don't even know what it means."
Oh.
And so she was a Tetsa, so she remembers reading this from the old novena that was
Wow.
written purely coincidentally by a man named Polly Roman, or
Oh, wow.
Polly Roman. So he was as
You
we're.
just gave me goosebumps.
It gives me great.
Circle of Life or something.
It's really weird. And then now, from a historian that we're hearing today, that he was the first person that this novena that he had written were the first words written in the first native Chamorro words that were ever written. So, and I'm not too sure how accurate that was, but I just heard this today.
Right.
So it was like, so I had already understood that there was this Poly-Roman's connection to the word Fuccai, which was echoed, reiterated by the priest Poly Eric in that blog post that you might have seen.
Yes.
But then I didn't really understand that he might have been the very first guy to ever write that word ever. Understanding that story years ago, so that story, the second time that came out, it's there was all this controversy that surrounded the company in our early years where, you know, people were giving people flack for wearing the shirts. So then finally one day, in the Guam PDN, priests, completely unprovoked, decided to do he wrote a half-page letter in defense of the company where he broke down the history and he talked about this Poly Ramon who had written down what Fuccai meant in the dictionary.
And that was Poly Eric.
And that was Poly Eric Forbes. And you know, I still
oh my gosh.
I still go to Poly Eric when I have all these questions about slinging and all of that. So he's been a great he's been a big guiding force in my life, you know, so very happy to very stoked to have him there.
Hey man, that was a great day.
Well, man, that's wow, no, and thank you guys for taking, you know, for it, because it even for me, it's a good, even though I know this inside, it's like nice to
talk about it.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm
You know what, man?
you know,
Now I think
reading this
you're going from, you're still an entrepreneur, but now you're evolving into a historian. You know what I mean? You're sharing the history now of Guam to other people.
The Heritage Cup will be in Humatak, and the first day we're gonna have a slingers procession. Yep, we're gonna have a slingers procession and chant at 4 Rock, and then from 4:30 in the afternoon we're gonna have a distance vegetation gathering. We're gonna try and assemble as many slingers as we can to sling seeds and start a new garden at the Sela Bay Overlook.
Wow!
And then on day 2 we're gonna have an international rules tournament. And also we're going to have an artifact show and tell. We're also going to have a forum covering 5 top issues that the slingers are facing today. So we're going to have an open forum for the crowd to participate.
So everybody can come and it's free.
Everybody can come and free to participate. Day 3, we're going to be taking part in the reenactment of Magellan's Landing. And then we're also going to have an exhibit on the combative features of slinging, which are going to be the rapid fire and the distance slinging. So all 3 days we're offering something different, but we're trying to offer a scope of our slinging climate right now, and then hopefully steer towards everybody, make more connections, and guide help join everybody in our course towards a 500-year commemoration in 2021.
There we go. Man, my man.
Yay!
Man.
Right. No, it's good. I don't think I ever had to say it all in one time before.